If you have viewed the curriculum map presentations, you will have seen a bird's eye view of assessment in the curriculum. This is a closer, feet-on-the-ground description of assessment within the courses. It goes step by step through each column of the plan template. The plan template includes all of the learning outcomes. There are two plan templates, one for the institutional learning outcomes and one for the program learning outcomes. The second column is the year assessed. For institutional learning outcomes, this is predetermined and already indicated in the plan template. By the way, the plan template can be found on the Google website for assessment planning under Resources and Templates. The idea of the plan template is to include the assessment that is going to be conducted for all of the outcomes over all 5 years in the case of the ILOs. It is cumulative and will indicate after 5 years where all the assessment will have occurred and will be planned to occur within the following years as well. After recording the institutional outcomes, the department outcomes, and when those are going to be assessed, you're going to indicate where those are going to be assessed. Generally, this happens within courses, and so you can indicate this by writing down the course number. Occasionally, that happens outside of a course, and so you will write down where, if it's near graduation, in student's senior year, or whichever case is appropriate. Ideally, you're going to need to have at least 2 points of assessment for each outcome. There are 3 lines provided in the template, and you can always add more rows as needed. What is going to be assessed within that course or at that particular time? If it is in a course, it's going to probably be something such as an assignment or an exam. In that case, write down what type of assessment it's going to be, a presentation, a portfolio, etc., and then put down the name of that assignment as well. If it's not course-based, such as a survey, write down the name of the survey here. Then indicate if that assessment is direct or indirect. If it's done in a course, the chances are that it's direct, but that's not always the case. In direct assessment, students are demonstrating that they have the knowledge, skills, or ability to do what is outlined in the learning outcome. And indirect evidence, students self-report on their own knowledge, skills, or abilities, and so that would include surveys or reflections. You need to have at least one piece of direct evidence for every learning outcome. Then write the assessment tool that you're going to be using to measure that assessment. Please put here the type of measurement tool that's going to be used, and if it has a formal name, such as a common rubric for the competencies, the written communication, or the oral communication, critical thinking, and whatnot, you can identify it by name. You're not actually going to put the criteria here that you're assessing them on. Attach the rubric or scoring criteria separately. If you're using a scoring guide or a rubric that was used for grading, you also need to ensure that your assessment is valid. More information can be found on that in a separate presentation. The criteria for success. Once you've established what tool you're going to be using, what value is considered successful for students at this point in their learning, and how many students are expected to achieve this benchmark. Then you indicate how assessment is conducted. This is here because of best practices. When you have a large group of students who are being assessed, you might not assess all of them in a sample, and you might want to write that here. Or if you have a large culminating project such as a portfolio, it's good to have multiple faculty looking at that assessment. Or if you have multiple sections being offered and you're doing the same assignment, you also might have multiple faculty looking at the same assessment. So if you're not going to be doing assessment simply as part of your grading process, you need to indicate this process, what you're going to be doing here. If you are doing that as part of the grading process, please indicate that as well. Altogether, you have this plan. This plan is not a place for assessment results, but just to indicate what is going to happen in assessment. And as it is a plan, it should be developed prior to the assessment and to reporting. Oftentimes, you will be looking back at what activities have been done over the year to see what is appropriate. That is not planning. Best practices would indicate that a plan is completed prior to assessment. Additionally, if this is filled out properly, it is helpful for me in the Office of Institutional Research and Assessment to compile for educational effectiveness indicators for accreditation purposes. Most of these components are taken and put directly onto that spreadsheet. Once you have a plan in place, it's time to take action and actually conduct the assessment. Additional guidance for completing the plan and to what goes into each column is available in a PDF document on the Assessment Planning website. There is also a presentation on reporting results.